This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution, and I'm having a bad hair day today. I am here today with an old friend of mine. We haven't actually caught up for many a year. Uber Sommelier, Mr. Simon Zimmerman, who's joining us all the way from Oslo. How are you today, Simon?
I'm very well, actually. We have beautiful weather. Temperature has been cold, but the sun is shining. As you can see on the side, we still have light outside.
Right.
So the sun will go down in probably 20 minutes or something. So it's brighter times.
Now, please excuse my ignorance here. I'm not exactly sure where Oslo is with regards to the ongoing pandemic. Perhaps you can explain that to me.
Yes, Oslo is basically in the center since it's the biggest city in Norway. We have around 700,000 inhabitants and to total 1.2 million with the suburbs outside. So it has been up and down. It has been rising the past weeks, but we still have been in lockdown for alcohol serving in restaurants since November. So
now,
the government.
Can I interrupt for a second, Simon?
Yeah,
what is the thinking behind them banning the sale of alcohol in restaurants?
First of all, it's basically they don't want to have alcoholism out in the streets because, of course, people will not do the rules properly when they get a few glasses more. As we saw in the summer, they opened up like 100%, but you didn't have allowed, or you could basically not travel so much as the Norwegian people wanted to. So people stayed at home, and we saw huge explosions of basically partying in the streets and so on. So a lot of drunkenness all around. So that is basically with the bars, and of course after restaurants close, people turn to the streets, and it gets like completely a mass of people just wandering around. So that's basically the main reason, I think.
Now, that must have had a dreadful impact upon the restaurant community in Oslo.
Yes, definitely.
And across Norway.
Yes, especially in Norway, prices and wages are quite high.
Yes.
And mostly of the restaurants depend on alcohol sales. So around 90% of the restaurants in Oslo have been closed since November. And those who still have open, they have been serving takeaway, or they have been doing in-dining without alcohol serving. But many tried, and many just closed again because it's not for economy. It doesn't work out because of high wages and so on.
Now, I've not asked you this question yet, but where were you working 12 months ago, and where are you at with your employment today?
So I'm still the head sommelier and the restaurant manager of the restaurant that I have been working for the past 5 years, restaurant Hapolati. It is an Asian fusion style restaurant with, of course, a huge wine list. We are currently 2 sommeliers working there, and before we got closed down, we had a very, very well visit. So it was a lot to do until they closed down.
And what have you been doing for the last 12 months?
So the last 12 months, I have basically been working in a place as extra shift since it's very local, and the government has put on the responsibility to make these local rules by each commune. And Oslo is a quite huge commune, but you have a lot of communes outside of Oslo that also do their own rules. So there is a huge half island just outside of Oslo. You can travel there with boat, only 20 minutes, but if you're going to go by car, it takes over 1 hour to get there. So they also have a really, really low pressure of the virus. So they have been serving alcohol since, basically since there was a national lockdown in the first 2 weeks of January, but that is the only period they have been closed. So, and also the government has a national rule: you don't have allowed to serve alcohol after 10 o'clock. So there's very, very tight schedule to follow when it comes to evening service.
Wow. So, have you been happy with the way that your government has managed and mitigated the pandemic so far?
I would say that they are a bit unreliable because it goes up and down, especially in Oslo. You can say it's here where the highest pressure is, and also the commune and the mayor of Oslo, they have been very strict with a lots of rules. For example, now shopping centers are closed. All shops that don't have groceries, apotheke, and basically food serving.
Also,
Like
pharmacies, yeah.
Yeah, pharmacies and restaurants do not have allowed to have in dining anymore. So there's only takeaway food. Of course, our wine monopoly. Of course, they tried to close that one day, and it was a complete riot. People were taking cars and trains just outside the border of the Oslo commune and going to the wine shops because people were, starting to get afraid that they couldn't and go and buy a bottle of wine. But that lasted one day, so they opened up one day after this happened because they saw the problem because there was too many big crowds and starting to gathering outside these shops when they were opening.
Yeah.
And when you close 45 wine monopoly shops in whole of Oslo, and you have maybe total 10 just outside, people will just go to each side of the commune to get wine or spirits. So.
Now, all over the globe, when I've been speaking with people in the wine business and the restaurant business, we're all incredibly concerned about the future of restaurants and where we go from here. What are your thoughts about how this will proceed within Oslo?
I'm a bit concerned of the smaller restaurants.
Yep.
So the small niche that are owned by very skilled and very passionate people. Of course, the deal, how they have the rent and so on also depends, and how much money and economy they have had before. They were starting by there is a lot of places starting to struggle. Yeah. Since they haven't had, especially in Oslo, they didn't have any income the past 4 months. The government are always doing some crisis to give them money, but it's not enough.
Have they had any rent relief at all from the government?
In my company, we had only within the first lockdown, but the second lockdown, it's still going on. But I'm very lucky to work in a company that has some very good capital in the back, so we can manage to go through or still finance the rent for a couple of months more, but it's still starting to be quite critical. So we need to open soon to get some more income. Yes, because it just sucks money out of the company. So
I understand. Yeah. Now, on a personal level, apart from the work side of things, how has the pandemic and the lockdown impacted you the most?
You always have days that are very up and down. Some days you are very, you are very happy. You read a lot about wine. You watch lots of wine movies. You want to learn, and another day you just want to lie in bed and just watch Netflix all night or all day. So it depends on, and also depends on the weather as well. Now it's more brighter times, but during this November and December, where is the darkest months of the year, it gets complete pitch dark before 4 o'clock. So, and that impacts a lot how you are having your day, basically. So when you wake up late, you have maybe 2-3 hours of sunlight, and then and then it's dark again. So you feel it's basically like a night all month, basically.
Yeah, I can imagine. Have you been drinking more or less during the pandemic?
I would say the same.
Right.
It's more now. I don't think about when I'm going to drink wine. I just drink wine when I want to. Like, for example, when you work 5 days a week, you always have your Sundays and Mondays where you, for example, go out and eat or have some dinners. Now it's more, okay, let's have a dinner next week, and doesn't matter which day. So I would say I drink more beer because, of course, I am unemployed at the moment.
Yes.
So I still get some relief from the government, but that is barely just enough to manage to pay rent, all the bills, and of course some food. So if you want to go to the wine and pool and get some extra, of course you think about buying more value wine, compared to what you were used to buy. You know, you go for a $30-40 of a bottle of wine, but now you go more for the $20 to $15 bottle.
I agree with you entirely.
So you learn a lot as well, because you learn how to find wines with good value compared to price and so on, without, you know, putting an extra $10 on it.
I agree with you. One thing I've been doing during the pandemic, I've always been a little bit, a little bit skeptical of the whole biodynamic calendar and how it impacts tasting. However, over time, I've noticed that on some days, if I taste a wine that I really enjoy and it tastes mediocre, just dried out, I then get my app, which wine, and I check, and I try to guess if it's going to be a leaf day or a root day. And 90% of the time I can get it correct now. So I've discovered that on the root and leaf days, I don't enjoy the wines as much. And I don't look at it before I taste the wine. But now what I do is I'll look and see, all right, it's a leaf day. And I will drink beer instead of wine because I don't see the point in wasting a bottle of wine.
I can understand. I also have some
crazy
experience with these ones. I also tested biodynamics a true face with the wines as well. When I worked at a star restaurant around 7 years ago, we were opening the same bottles of wine, or the same producer, same vintage, you know, for 2 weeks every day. And there was a huge difference during days. For example, if it was we had some red burgundy with some age, and then suddenly they come on and like they're less fruity, they taste more of like this earthy carrot, sometimes you know, towards to carrots, celeriac, you know, all these real root vegetables. And then we started to get to take notice. Okay, what day is this actually day? And then we saw, okay, it's a root day. And for example, if you have the same wine and it's, for example, a fruit day or a flower day, they tend to be more on the red currant and more like acidic red berries and fruit. So it's very interesting to taste these over time.
I'm very much drawn towards wines when they express a floral note. And so I tend to stay for the flower days is when Pinot Noir or Syrah taste most fantastic and vibrant for me. Fruit I enjoy as well, but it's definitely that floral aspect that I'm drawn to. I'll ask you one last thing before we part ways. I always like to end all of these interviews on a kind of up note, because we're in such dark times. What is the most important thing that you have learned over the course of the last 12 months?
It's very hard to say. I would say, first of all, since we always had the wine monopolies open, so you can always go and shop wine, I learned basically, like I said, to buy and find more wines, quality compares to price point, but also to, you know, enjoy wine and food a bit more, you know, with more pleasure, basically. I always do that, but you know, you take more notice that, okay, now I'm going to use my last money before I get some more from the government, and then I buy a really nice dry aged beef, or you know, you just spend all your money on the last good produce that you can find, and you know, and really enjoy it, and then you can eat noodles for the rest of the 2 days, and that is worth it. Basically, you appreciate life a bit more. You know, you know, it's dark times. You have to look at it at the bright side with food, wine, and of course, you know, meet a few friends that you basically can meet, and also go more out in the nature, because we have a 20-minute tram ride or a subway ride, and then you are in the middle of the woods here in Oslo. So it's very nice to, you know, experience more nature than I actually were supposed to do when it didn't or a virus or something like that. So for me, it's basically nature, experience more nature.
Lovely, lovely. Well, Simon Zimmerman, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the interview.
It's been way too long. You're always such a natural on camera. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch up very soon.
Yes, we definitely did. Have a great, stay well.
Bye for now.